everybody, and welcome back to the Press Play Lifestyle Inspired podcast, where we do interviews with interesting and inspiring people on topics to help you find the resources, tools, and support that you may need to be your best inspired selves. Today, we have a good friend of mine. She's actually been a friend of mine for a while now. Her name is Asta. So Asta, can you please introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you, Jackie. My name is Asta Timm, and I am a professional relationship coach, expert dating strategist, and a certified matchmaker. And so, really self-explanatory, but I'm in the love business. And I just really take great individuals and also couples and lead them to the relationship that is just right for them. It's interesting because I think love is kind of the foundation of everything that we do in our lives.
I actually just I heard an interview with Deepak Chopra, which of course I'm going to say wrong, but
Yeah.
and it was really interesting. He said essentially mammals are based what makes mammals different. Everyone says a lot of things like consciousness and all of that. He said, but it's really that they love, and that the thing that makes humans as a species different than any other species is the fact that we need to be loved, and it's like an imperative, not just it'd be great if I found love. So what are your thoughts on just that?
I think that is exactly it. And it makes everything a little bit better. Often successful people that I'm working with, it seems like they have life all together and everything's great. And then there's this one piece missing. And they often ask me, they're like, well, how is this possible that I'm good at all this stuff and I just cannot find love? And then they look at it as a weakness. Like, do you really need help to find love? Like, shouldn't it just happen naturally and organically? Uh, but sometimes no. And sometimes if we're clear and confident about it, then we get the really great love. We don't just like kind of take whatever comes along.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that, but maybe off tangent already. But love, like we spend so much time on planning our educations. We spend time on our career paths, getting resumes together, how we appear, what's the path, even where we live. And when it comes to love, like we just kind of throw it to the wind, like, okay, whatever. And this is the partner that's going to be with you through everything and for the rest of your life, hopefully.
Yeah.
They say that women actually spend more time picking out bathing suits in their lifetime than kind of figuring out what is the right love match for me.
It's probably because we need one big enough to cover our derriere for whatever season we're in currently. Or maybe I'm projecting there. Maybe that's just me. But that's a really interesting point because I'm a bit of a planner, which you know me, so you know that about me.
Yeah.
But I pretty much had my whole life planned out. When I was going to be in school, how many kids I was going to have, all this stuff. And I didn't even think about the partner I was going to do all that with. It was just like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get there? How smart am I to be? All of that. I think it's interesting that you mention it because people seem to live this whole love at first sight is like some magic bullet. Like everyone thinks that's the greatest thing ever. But like I've been with my husband over 20 years. Yeah, thank you. But that's a long time to have not thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I got lucky. I married up. So I think that's
I was
why.
just gonna say, people feel like, oh, well, you're so lucky. Yes, you are. But it's also, if I had to guess, as a couple, you haven't given up on each other and you're still doing things together and you're a partnership together in the world. And that just makes each other stronger.
Yeah.
And that's what singles that are struggling out there, they are like craving that kind of partnership. But I work with 30s and over because sometimes, the young generations, teens, 20s, early 20s, they can grow and expand together. And their journey is a little bit different than ending up either through divorce or just single or widowers. It's a little bit different. Once we're in our 30s, 40s, we have certain things that are already in place. It's a little bit harder to tweak things. We already are pretty clear about what values and what we need. And often people think when you say the word need, they think it's either selfish or not right to, be kind of upfront on, I do need this. I know that this works for me and this does not.
Yeah, that's an interesting point as well. So I have a question
Yeah,
then. Actually, I have lots of questions, but the
I
one
like
that came to
questions.
mind was, do you think there's kind of a difference between like that lust that you get right at the very beginning and then like that long-term sustainable love? Are they different?
Mm-hmm. It could be, I could, probably talk to you about a half hour on that. But how I like to put it in a little capsule, because I'm from the medical world. I can share that a little bit. But I'm a previous cardiac nurse, and they say that feeling that when you meet someone and your heart is fluttering and you're all excited, well, that's called an arrhythmia, and you usually keel over and die from that. So that is not the good type of love. Although there are always the exceptions, but it's kind of like the ones that kind of evolve, expand, go. And one statement I would say between the lost and the ones that we call flash and burn, like it's whew, God, we're all in, and then it fizzles or something, a bomb goes off and it's ended, versus the one that progresses, grows, and then you're in a relationship, is that lost my train of thought, is that we have our clarity in place and we know where we're going with this, and we're not so apt to put on those rose-colored glasses and just look at the really great things.
Yeah, I wonder if that's what's a little bit so I don't because I don't know. Like I met my husband in college.
Yeah.
He was pretty hot and sexy then. He's super hot and sexy now too, so lucky me. But
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine dating now. Like I don't even know where you would go to date. Like I met him at like college slash work, and all of my friends met like you back then. I can't believe I have to say that. We met like at, you meet at the bar, you meet at church, you meet at the community center. Like where do singles even meet especially if you're like, I'm in my 40s, like where am I going to meet someone if my husband decides should have been smart and married, someone else before he married me? Like where do they go?
Yeah, that is a very common question and a big frustration for people. Usually by the time they get to me, they're discouraged, frustrated, just want to give up because they've tried different things, it doesn't work. I like telling people, like, the world is yours, right? But you have to change things, because if you keep doing the same thing, you're not meeting that person. Obviously, switch gears, pivot, and let's take a different way. Like to optimize all their options. So, out and about, usually we're running to the grocery store and we're just on our errands. But if you open your eyes, it could be all around you. It could be online, but optimizing that so you're not so-called catfished or looped into something that's wrong for you. And it's accessing your friends and family members, because sometimes we think, well, single, that there's a stigma attached to it. But let everybody know, coworkers, you don't know who else has a brother, a nephew, someone who's just really also just craving for love and just cannot connect. Or you get like a matchmaker that has prime candidates that kind of does the weeding out for you, and then you can connect that way.
So
So
we
I
need to
say,
get like flashlights. It's like single, 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 single
yeah,
on our profile on Facebook, right? It's like, come meet me, I'm single. I
yes,
get lots of
yeah.
creepy dudes that like are always like liking me on Facebook, and I'm like, I don't know if your name's really Alex. Just wondering, but yeah. So do you think there are more, because again, I'm not in the dating world. Do you think there are like more online opportunities now? Like, well, of course there are, because there was no online when I was younger, but um, are people having to kind of do that more to find a connection?
I think that it is a good, strong option, mainly because it is what it is right now. Like, that's kind of the thing.
Mhm.
It doesn't have that bad stigma from years ago, but you have to be careful. And that's where I think you have to be very confident in yourself, because you can start choosing or responding to people that are not right for you. It is a game, and you have to have enough energy to kind of weed through. Some people have all different kinds of intentions on there.
Mhm.
So I think it's good, but to be intentional and pick the one that's right for you. I hate to say that, for one person, if I say this one, they're like, oh, no, I don't like it, or it doesn't really work. It's really kind of committing to the one that aligns with you. There's different ones like Christian Mingle all the way to Tinder. Now, some people may not want like the hookup that Tinder is known for, but there are good stories that come out of there too. But if you're going to choose that one, you better be strong enough to kind of like move through the stuff and get to the important person. There are good people on there too.
Yeah, of course there are. Absolutely. There's good people everywhere. You just have to look for them.
Yeah. And you have to have that mindset. That's the key. You have to have the mindset that there is hope, that it will happen, and you cannot become kind of, that bitter and discouraged, and people like to stay there. Or what do they say about love? They'll be like, never mind, it's not that important. And no, I think that's a self-protective mechanism.
I'm sure it is, for sure. So how does a cardiac nurse become, a relationship expert? Like, how did that path unfold for you?
Yes, it's very interesting. I'm going to keep it short because I read the love languages again this weekend because I think that's a good one. But I'm a babbling brook is what
Mm.
I fall under. I could go on and on. So in a nutshell, right? I was divorced in 1990, so long ago. I don't even remember the
For
year,
the internet. No, I'm kidding.
and I don't want to age myself. Right. So
Okay.
what happened then? So I became a cardiac nurse, a heart nurse, was a single mom, 2 children, raising them on my own. And you know about balance. That's a very hard thing to balance.
Yeah.
And as I'm progressing, I'm going to start dating again. And I was out there, I call it flailing in the dating world for decades. I don't know what was right. I was just trying to catch whatever. I had one day off. Let's just, let's see where this goes. And I became burnt out. But long story short, my kids grew up, off to college. They're taking jobs in different states. And I'm like, oh, great. Well, now what's next for me? So I enrolled myself in the professional life coaching program at the University of Wisconsin Madison. Their first year ever doing this program. So it was like cohort A. And you start working with clients right away, like month 1. They're like, here you go. Let's go. Let's start. So executive coaching, business, kind of time management stuff, midlife crisis, unhappy in the workplace. How do you balance work and home? And always by session 1 or 2, people changed to dating and relationships. And I'm like, oh, please, I cannot help you. I can't help myself. Right? I'm like, how can I do this? There's no way. But they teach you it's not about me, it's about them. And you use those tools. So I always say my niche found me. I eventually put that to practice and remarried after that and started working in dating and relationships in 2016 full time. So I used to be a cardiac nurse, and now I just fix hearts in a much different way.
Oh, what a nice story. And I've met your husband, and
Yes.
he's adorbs. So yay for you. He's very handsome.
But see, if you went back and talked to my friends and family back in the day, they were like, oh my gosh. So I lived it, I experienced it, I made all the mistakes for you. I've researched it, I've read, I've learned. So let me save you 10 years. Because what they say, right, is from your biggest struggles come your greatest successes.
Yeah, I always say from my mess came my message, but yeah,
Yes.
I love it.
Isn't that interesting how that works?
It is. It is. And I love that you say like your niche found you, because I think that you don't have to know all the answers to help someone else. I think you just have to be one step ahead of them. Luckily, you're quite a few steps ahead because you married him, you kept him, at least for now, we'll see. But just kidding. Well, and you've had some really great success stories, right? Isn't there a couple marriages that happened in the last year?
Yes,
Isn't there?
that's when you know. Yeah, that's when you know that processes and people, when you work together, right, that this is working. And that's exciting when you get invited to the weddings. But then you have to be like, I step back and I'm like, oh, it's not about me. This is exactly the end result. But how I explain things to people in coaching, and especially in this, because they have a hard time, like how are you going to help, and is it going to be work? Like nobody wants to learn how to date or work.
Yeah.
Like, just give me the magic pill, give me that magic person.
Yeah.
Not that simple. But I love explaining it as like it's a car, and the client is in the driver's seat, right? They're the one in control, they have the answers, and I'm in the passenger side. But we come up with the end goal together, a partnership. Goals, for some people, they don't like the word. So like your destination, your end win game, right? But I'm there because you're in the driver's seat, and we tend to see obstacles. We want to detour. We want to get off the road and quit and get out of the car. And I'm like, oh no, I'm there with you. That's exactly how my business model works. I'm your personal guide through the entire journey, as the Bachelor ABC show puts it, the journey to love. I'm there by your side, because often we can derail ourselves, or even in love. Have you ever heard the term rose-colored glasses?
Yeah.
So here we go. We spent all this time making lists, what are our goals, what are past experiences. We made it through heartaches. We're clear. And then we meet Fantastico and we're like, no, this is all good. And that's where I'm like, whoa, let's relook at things, because I think that's how relationships don't work. We just like go all in and forget exactly like who we are, what we need, what are the things, are we even aligned? And we're not, and we end up not having these relationships work out because, well, we were dating deal breakers, our own deal breakers.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if you've ever heard of Darren Hardy. He's like a success
Yeah.
coach, etc. And he
Uh-huh.
tells the story of how he found his wife, Georgia, who is quite honestly the most beautiful woman ever. And he's like, he sat down one day and he was just not having luck in love. And he's successful in like everything, right? The guy is like super successful. And he said he journaled for like pages and pages and pages and pages. And he like made her into being. And he's like, no joke. I saw my wife and I was like, that's too crazy. I literally like journaled her out. So I think there's something for it, like that seems super cool, but then you have to, like, I would have been like, oh, and you should meet my friend Asta just to make sure that you were not like dreaming up that so much that you're like, oh, thank goodness there's another human being in front of me.
Yeah.
Oh, but
Yeah, but it's
yeah.
interesting because me coming from the science world, there is a whole portion that I'm like, just listen to me here, because you're gonna think either people too early on, they're like, you're crazy or you're fluffy. But there's this part of manifestation. I cannot explain it. I'm like, just go with it and just do it. You have to be positive, you have to know what you want, right? But you have to really believe, or it's not gonna happen. And that's the part I really I can't explain it. And like you said, journaling, I do make people write because there's something about it, can't explain it, but you write it, it's a whole different world than like thinking it, or like I thought about it, or I, put it on my phone, or I spoke it into the computer. No, you have to write it.
Yeah, I think it's something about like making something graspable or real. Like if it's a thought, it can float in the wind and never come back. It doesn't have any permanence. But if you write, right, it's this act of creation that becomes a permanent record of a thought that you may have had a million times, but you never grasped it. So it's just taking all those thoughts you have and making them real
I love
for
that. I'm gonna use that permanence.
permanence. Hey, if
Permanence.
you want to keep that girl that you just started dating permanently, write that down. No, I'm kidding.
Permanently write it. Yes.
I'm just
Yeah.
making up stuff as we
And
go.
and then it goes back to, and then it goes to like, you do that kind of work, and then it goes down to the details, mainly because we're in this fast-paced society,
Mhm.
left, swipe right. And it's like, you better be on point. And then some people will often, they bring up, like, what are you wearing? What are you, the details matter. They're like, it's superficial, it doesn't matter. I'm like, it does matter, because you got to get through that first phase so that they can get to know you. And it can be something so simple as few things that you said wrong, even like on a Zoom, or you had something on, and I know it sounds so silly, but our minds are complicated, and that other person or ourselves, we do it too. So when people are like, oh, come on, I'm like, oh, you do it too. Like, we just prejudge, and run with all these stories, and we don't even know the person yet.
Yeah, all the stories we tell ourselves, we say about others too, right?
Yes.
Before we
Yeah.
wrap up, but
Yes.
we didn't even get to talk about because it's not just the looking for love in all the right places part, but you also have some couples that you've kind of helped go down a new path as well, right? So give me an example of what that might look like if they're not single, but they're having a little, roadblocks in love.
Yes. So that's a newer addition to my work, and I love it just as much. Couples often can become, at any point of their marriage, from year 1 to year 20, 30, they can become very comfortable, and then kind of, they forget to date again, they forget to do the little things. They get so comfortable, sometimes, like, I'm like, you wouldn't do that in public, like, don't do it in front of your spouse, and it starts to irritate the other person. But we go through life changes too. Like, life doesn't stay the same. So we too have to work together to change relationships and to accommodate, and to never really shut down, because people will assume the other person should know what they're thinking. They should know what to do. And then they don't. So we get aggravated. So then we like totally shut down. And then we're like, we give up. But it's
Yeah.
rekindling, rebooting,
Yeah.
and going back to, you know what my favorite thing is? Especially couples who've been together 20, 30 years. I'm like, go back to like, what was your first date or how did you meet? And kind of relive that night.
That's so sweet. I say one of the things that, because I'm like, oh my gosh, 20 years. Yeah. In August, it will be 20 years married. We've been together since 1996. So 24 years, right? It'll be.
Wow.
Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you. But I actually, I don't agree with that. I'm like, we
Okay.
haven't, no, congratulations for sure. But we haven't been together for 24 years. I mean, he's new every week, every month, every year, right? And so we fall in love over and over and over again because,
Uh,
well, but he's not who he was, right? Thank goodness I'm not who I was. And you have to make a decision, and you don't have to, but we decided to keep liking that new person or to keep finding a way to fall in love with the new person. And thank goodness, because oh my gosh, he is so much even more amazing than he was all those years ago. Like, he's an amazing dad. Who would have known that? Who would have thought that when we're dating, right, at work and drawing staplers of each other and stuff, like,
yes.
so I think that I love when you're like, rekindle that first time or remember to date, because you're dating a new person. Like, they've grown,
Mhm.
they've changed, hopefully. And it's important, right, to
It
fall in
is.
love every day so that
Yeah.
you stay in love.
Yeah. And so now somebody would be listening to this, be like, see, that's what I want. And they'll come to me and say, do you know, you think I can find love again? Is it possible for me? Can I do this? And you know what my answer is? Absolutely. So my company is
Absolutely.
called Absolutely by Asta because absolutely you can have what you want and the love that you want.
Oh, that's so sweet. So, Asta, where can someone looking for love in all the wrong places or trying to rekindle what they already have, where can they find more information about you and the services that you're able to provide them?
Yes, great. Thank you for asking. So they can find me at absolutelybyasta.com. My name Asta is ASTA, or you can email me at asta@absolutelybyasta.com. And we can start there. You can go through the website and just fill out the contact form if that's easier. And you can reach me in any of those ways.
Awesome. So, I think I heard a little birdie tell me that you may be launching a new program.
Yes, I'll briefly tell you this before we end here, because we have the big VIP, big package doesn't work for everyone. So basically 3 other options how to get information from me. One is I still work one-to-one coaching, and it's more of like a retainer and a monthly fee. So it's not this huge, gigantic commitment that people are afraid of.
Commitment phobia.
Yeah, just retainer, monthly fee. You can pick the monthly fee that's right for you. But better yet, as well, is a group coaching, because sometimes the one-to-one doesn't even work for people. So I call it Ask Asta. Ask Asta group coaching that came from an advice column that I did here in Milwaukee, the Shepherd Express publication. So Ask Asta group coaching, we get together, we share stories, love knowing that you're not alone out there. So that's starting, we do that 4 times per month. And then sharing snippets of information through Ask Asta YouTube channel. So that's where you'll just get little brief spurts of info. And my bottom line is to make sure everything is fun and light, because dating and relationships should be fun and should be light.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out. I know you're very busy helping others find love. I look forward to hearing about anything that comes up for you in the future, but thank you again for taking the time.
Oh, thank you, Jackie. It was a pleasure.
All
Thank
right, talk to you soon. Bye.
you. Bye-bye.